I have a face for radio, sir, not for video.
That's a good way to start off.
Hello, everyone. This is Bentley from Kent, Washington. Today, we're going to take a look at my Rainbow Community Display Tank. So this is technically like 139 gallons, but they often get called a 150. It's got a massive number of plants, but kind of most importantly is this big field of lotuses that are over here. Mostly tiger lotus, but there's also a kind of rare lotus up front. And then a whole ton of rainbowfish, along with a few other kind of adoptees that have joined this community tank. I can't tell you the number of hours that I have sat and just enjoyed this thing. I absolutely love rainbowfish, and this thing is kind of my pride and joy as far as a display tank. So I was originally in the hobby because of, like most people in my family. We've kept fish ever since I was a teeny tiny baby looking up at wonder with no clue what was going on. I kept fish all the way up until college, where as a broke college student, I had a tank explode and I kind of had to lose all of my fish. And then about 2 years ago, I happened to see a video on YouTube. I remember very specifically, it was Continuity from The Green Machine and James Finley. And 2 days later, I'd watched 3 years worth of their content and found Aquarium Co-op. And from there on out, it's kind of history. I had to have fish back in my life, and now I have 25 tanks running and more that will eventually go up.
So why rainbowfish?
I saw a tour of Gary Lang's fish room, and I saw a Bosemani rainbow, and just the way that the color changed, the beautiful, like almost saltwater level of colors in fresh water, and the fact that they love planted tanks. I couldn't say no. I originally was really into discus as a kid, and now I would much rather have a rainbow fish any day of the week than a discus. No offense to you discus fans. Discus are awesome, but rainbows are my babies. This is my Plants for Profit tank, but let's talk about the fish first. There are about 75 Kochu tetras in here, a few autocyclists, as well as one male Apistogramma wascar. The whole job of this tank is just to grow plants, whether that is things that are perennially popular to sell or things that I'm experimenting with. This tank is all about the plants. The total plants in this tank right now, there's three different types of Alternanthera reinekii. So there's regular Alternanthera reinekii. You guys might notice Scarlet Temple. There's a variegated version, which shows this really cool veining pattern on the top leaf. And then there's a little bit of mini. Bacopa colorata, Pogostemon Heidelberg, Pogostemon Kimberley, Pogostemon erectus, Syngonanthus belem, Ludwigia pantanal, Rotala eni, Ludwigia palustris, which is also called super red, Hygrophila corymbosa parawatota, Hygrophila species green olive, Bucophalandra brownie brown, Ludwigia senegalensis, Rotala bonsai, so the true Rotala indica, Crypt nuri, there's regular nuri, and then Rosen maiden, Jacobsoni pink. I don't push CO2 very hard. I actually believe that most of the tanks, like your ADA style tanks, are pushing CO2 harder than you ever need to. So this 40 breeder runs on 2 bubbles it's more like 1.5 bubbles a second. I've found that you don't need to have a lot of CO2 to have really good growth. You just need enough to boost its nutrient intake, and then you need really good light. And you'll notice that this tank is right against a west-facing window. It gets some amazing sunlight throughout the day, as well as having a Fluval Plant 3.0 light on it. So this gets some really hardcore light. And depending on which plants I'm really trying to focus on, I can shift the Fluval around in the tank to really push light to a specific plant to make that plant do even better. This is kind of, I think, the most popular tank I have on YouTube, which this is my Blue Hawaiian Moscow Guppy colony. And colony is the right word. There's probably between 350 and 400 fish in this thing. It's a 140 gallon acrylic. And as you can see, it's well planted. But this is something that I adopted from a person who could basically physically no longer take care of the fish. And I had been looking for these particular fish for a very long time. And it reminds me of something when I was a kid. My mom used to collect blue cobalt glass from the Depression era, and these are the closest thing I've seen to that in a guppy ever. And I kind of couldn't say no because it reminds me of my mom every time I look at it. So this collection of tanks is two very opposite ends of the spectrum. Over here first we have a little 30-gallon acrylic with my zebra pleco colony. I have 7 total zebras, 4 adults and 3 juveniles. I'm really terrible at telling their sex. I know there are 3 adult males and I hope I have a female. So eventually the hope is to, of course, to breed them. You can see one kind of poking out. And then over here is part of my like fry grow out system. Okay, so we have a lot of different species in a very short area. Like I said, this is where I grow out a lot of my fish, specifically rainbows when I'm doing breeding. Right now I have a bunch of fish from Gary Lang. So if we start up here, these are Chilatherina eleni wapogas, Chilatherina fasciatas from Cali Biru. Then the far tank over here is where our lone baby Florida flagfish is. Melanitania Herbert axelrodi, so the yellow rainbow fish. And then also in here are a couple Melanitania goldii decai fry. The middle tank is kind of my pride and joy right now. These are the Melanitania species that come from Running River, or the Running River rainbow. They're effectively extinct in the wild. There's a very, very small population that some scientists saved. It's a really amazing story if you ever get a time to see it. Here on the far end are some Melanitania parva, which is kind of a beautiful sunfire orange fish. I have one adult that's in my big display tank. And like I said, these 4 tanks are all from Gary Lang. And slowly but surely I've been raising them up. It'll take about 6 to 9 months, depending on which species, to actually start getting early juvenile and adult colors. It's a very long game with rainbows. So this 40 breeder is doing 2 things. Number 1, it's housing my Chilatherina fasciata from Ungulum. And right now you'll notice that they're hiding in here in formation. They're pretty shy fish. They show almost no color until they go into their spawning ritual at this time. And then the males shoot through greens, pinks, blues, so kind of a gunmetal gray color. It's just amazing. It's like bam, 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 bam. They just keep shifting, which Gary Lang calls these the chameleon rainbow at times. And when you see them do that, you understand why perfectly. And you'll notice in here I've got a spawning mop. I've been conditioning them to get used to the spawning mops as opposed to anything else. And this has been about the first week, really, that they've been successfully coming into the mop, spawning and leaving eggs that I've counted, and I haven't picked them yet. Just because it's not really time for me to hatch some extra fish and raise them. But once they're really used to that mop, every morning I'll be able to get new eggs and slowly breed out more and more of them because they're a very, very cool fish. Thank you guys so much for taking a short tour. If you guys want to see more of my content, my rainbow fish, my guppies, all my breeding projects, some plant tips, you can find me under my name. That's just Bentley Pascoe on YouTube. I also have an Instagram if you want to check that out. I try to post at least 2 videos a week if I can, and then also a little bit on Instagram for some extra bonus content.
Well, thank you, Bentley. Hopefully I'll be back soon and had a lot of fun here. Lovely, lovely rainbows. My favorite fish. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
Take care.